Good morning, guys, and welcome back to our class. Um, Sorry, guys, I'm waiting for someone to join us. All right, guys. We're starting now. So, you guys are welcome. Welcome back. Today we'll be discussing about user interface and wireframing. So, yesterday we talked about UX deliverables. Okay, so we discussed about examples of UX deliverables, user persona, um, customer journey maps, user flow, information architecture, user stories, user scenarios, and so on. So, and we talked about some questions you should look out for in research, right? Then we proceed to the practical work. We proceeded with the research we were conducting, and we were able to come up with survey questions, which those survey questions will be used for interview too. So we are able to come up with that. So today we'll be talking about user interface and wireframing. So what does user interface and wireframing? What does it entail? Some comment. Okay, so user interface and wireframing. We said that we've discussed about user interface before when we started this course, an introduction to user interface. So today we'll be going into it fully. So that means we've been discussing more about the UX part of it. So we talked about UX, design thinking process, human centered design, and we talked about user research in full. So then we discuss about the deliverables. So proceeding with the user interface. So under user interface, we also have wireframing and some other topics. But today we'll be discussing about introduction to user interface and wireframing. So let's get into it. Come in. Let me. So what does user interface means? So user interface is a point of interaction between human and digital devices or any physical device. So it's just like our screen. What you are seeing here is an interface. Anything you interact with, anything you are seeing is an interface. On a layman, uh, any placement, any surface is an interface. Okay, so in relation to this, to UI UX design course, is a point of interaction, is a point by which user interact with your mobile device. Now your WhatsApp is a point of interaction. You're using that WhatsApp to interact with another person, right? You're using that WhatsApp to communicate. So it's a point of what? Interaction. Okay, so that's what interface means. So a point of interaction between human and what? Digital devices or any other physical devices. So what are the importance of user interface? Why do we have user interface design in respect to our digital world? So the majority of users' first impression will be formed by the UI designer. Yes. So majority of what user will see. You are a UX designer, you're also a UI designer. Or you are a UX designer, you're basically working on UX. Most of your work is not UI based, it's not interface based. So you are working on more practical, more research work. Yeah, that's what you're working mostly on. Okay, and how to make interface looks intuitive, like just the feelings and experience user will have. That's what user experience means. But UI, user interface, involves the first impression. Okay, what the user are going to see first of all is created by what? A UI designer. So it's very, very important. Then it can make or break marketing and growth endeavors. Yeah, that means if a UI is not aesthetically pleasing, it's not beautiful, it can break the marketing stage. Then we also have a functional UI design. A functional UI design lowers customer support expenses. Yeah, if your UI design is functional, it will lower the expenses, what you guys are going to be spending money on. Okay, we also have a UI design can boost customer acquisition and retention. Yeah, we also have this in UX. So if you have a an intuitive and beautiful UI, it can boost customer acquisition and retention. It can help you acquire and retain customers. Sorry about that, guys. Um, so we've talked about the importance of UI design, right? So that's just brief about it. UI is the point of interaction, is a point of interaction between human and what? Digital devices or any physical devices. And we talked about few importance. But let's go into what most people don't know about UI. So under UI we have three types. We have graphical UI, voice controlled UI, and gesture based UI. Okay, so graphical UI is the common UI we see. So as the name implies, is the graphics. Okay, is what we interact with. So this is commonly designed user interface. This is a common user interface we do have. Okay, interaction with this type of user interface happens through a graphical icons and visual indicator using our fingers as primary contact. Yeah, so the interface you see, your WhatsApp, your Facebook, any mobile app, any platform, any website, that is our common UI. That's our graphical UI. Okay, that has uh, interactions like graphical icons, indicators, like that, and we use our fingers to what, to interact with it. That's a graphical UI. Then this type of UI design talks about product visibility. So we know what graphics means is a what, like an interface. Okay, so it talks about visibility of a product. So if you are interacting with a particular interface and you are seeing it, you are able to interact with it with your hand, contact with it with your hand. That is a what, graphical UI, and that is the common UI we work on. Okay, so we also have voice controlled interface. The voice controlled interface is like is a method of interaction that is mainly using our voices, and it's not what, overly graphically designed like UI. So these are kind of UI we interact with, like our Siri, our Google Voice, our Alexa, like that. So that's another type of UI. So it's part of a UI UX designer to work on voice controlled interface, to be able to work on something like that. So if you are working on any kind of AI based platform, like that uses a voice, like Siri or something like that. So sometimes we have so many apps that uses this kind of UI, visual voice controlled interface. So just to interact with users, sometimes we have some interfaces. We have some people that are visually impaired, right? People that are not seeing anything, but still they want to interact with your app. So you can make use of this kind of thing, voice controlled interface, just to interact with that with people on it. Okay, so we have so many apps like that. So a typical example is our Siri and our Google Voice. Okay, so that's what voice controlled interface looks like. But mostly we work on graphical UI. That's mostly what we work on. But you can incorporate that kind of feature in your app just to make it possible. For other people that are visually impaired, other people that have other sickness or something, that can be able to what, use that. Then the last one is the what, gesture based interface. So it involves users engagement with interfaces using bodily motions. So there are some AI platforms like that. I don't really have a typical example for that, but they use, you don't interact with your hand, you don't touch, and it does not use voice. It uses bodily motions, like maybe some like our physical device like this, light bulb, some light bulb that uses robotics, machine language tools like that. I don't really know much about that. That you interact with bodily motion, maybe you clap or something like that. That's another example. Okay, so the idea is to make it easier and more intuitive for users to interact with a device without the need for physical button or the input method, without the need to click on anything before you interact with that. So kind of a gesture based bodily motion. Okay, so that's what gesture based looks like. So we talked about the three types: the graphical UI, that's the common UI we interact with; our normal UI that has icons, visual indicators, and the likes. Then we talked about the voice control. The voice control is the kind of method that we use our voice to interact with, and the gesture based interface using our body motion. Okay, so that's the three types of UI, three types of user interface. So before we go into wireframing, why this thing is very short, kind of very short, is that we've discussed more about user interface. during our introductory class. So now it's just like a recap, just to make you know that we are going into user interface now. Okay, talked about user interface as a point of interaction between human and digital devices or any other physical devices. We talked about the importances, right? Then the types, the graphical UI, voice controlled UI, and what, gesture based UI. Then let's go to wireframing. So wireframing is a, as the name implies, you frame something like a wireframing. So it's a skeletal framework of a web page or an app screen, usually in grayscale. So wireframing is like a sketch of what you are doing, of your design. It's like a sketch of your design. So it is basically done during the first stage, okay, before you go into making use of colors or the like. So wireframing is a skeletal framework, okay, of your web page. So it's a skeletal framework of a web page, like your is an outline of your what, or your sketch. Is an outline of your UI, a sketch of your UI. So it helps to focus on information hierarchy instead of getting distracted by small design decisions. So the main importance of UI is to help you. The main importance of wireframing, sorry, is to help you come up with ideas. It will help you sketch down the ideas you have. Okay, so when you are dealing with wireframing, that's when your creative thinking comes in, to sketch something, just to come up with something before, without the need for taking note of design decisions like your colors, typography you want to use. No, you don't even need that. You just sketch it. So that's why sometimes if you come up with your sketch, some people might not even understand, because it is just based on what you know, what you think is possible. Okay, so you just have to sketch it, some sketch in a rough way that people cannot even understand. Okay, so you are not submitting that kind of sketch, you are just using it to brainstorm, to come up with ideas. That's what wireframing talks about. That's what the sketching talks about. So you don't focus on any other design decision, you just focus on hierarchy. So hierarchy simply means the degree of importance of elements on your screen. Okay, so you just focus on information hierarchy, that this is important, this is important. So elements are represented by boxes and lines. So elements are represented by boxes and lines. Your image, you can represent it with just box and just have kind of cancelled icon inside of it. And you have lines. The lines, you can represent that with text. If you don't, if you can't write text, just put a line there. That's it. So just put it there, just to brainstorm. You already know that lines means text and boxes means what? Maybe image or icon, something like that. So wireframe is used early in design process, before the visual design, to get ideas quickly and to what? By inform other stakeholders. So it helps you what? To brainstorm at the, and you make use of wireframing at the early stage of your design process, before the visual design comes in. Before you make use of your colors, you come up with some design components and the likes. Okay, so to get ideas quickly and to inform the other stakeholders, you might want to submit the wireframing to your stakeholders, just to see that this is what your sketch. But in this kind of stage, you might not be submitting the sketch, so you can submit the mid fidelity, so that they will understand, because your sketch is usually rough. Okay, so that's the importance of wireframing. So the main importance of wireframing is to do what? Is to brainstorm. Okay, is to come up with ideas very quickly. Okay, so you are not after people will like this or not. You just want to sketch, you just want to come with ideas. You are not after the design color, the typography. You are not after that. You are not after the image now. You are not after the image yet. Okay, so not even icons, just sketch something. Okay, that's wireframing. It helps you to what? Brainstorm. It helps you to get ideas quickly. So we have the types of wireframing. We have the low fidelity wireframing. We have we have low fidelity, we have mid fidelity, and we have high fidelity. So we call the low fidelity as our sketch also. So low fidelity is the same as sketch. Some people might call it sketch and some people might call it low fidelity. So low fidelity is the first stage of your wireframing. That's where your wireframing starts. So it is usually rough, hand drawn on paper, digital freehand, or whiteboard drawing. So you can get it done on your paper or digital freehand, like your whiteboarding screens. So it is usually rough. It is very rough. So that's why I said if you submit that to people, they won't even understand what you are doing. So it is usually rough. So it is often used for fast ideation. Okay, it is used to get ideas quickly. You use it at the very first stage of your wireframing. Okay, to get ideas, to get hands-on information, just to sketch something down. So the low fidelity or sketch is usually drawn on paper or digital freehand. If you can use some digital tools, okay, to get it done, but I prefer to draw it on paper because it's very easier. Just come up with my pencil and draw something, sketch out. Okay, so it is often used for fast ideation. Then we have the mid fidelity. So mid fidelity is a more developed version than the low fidelity. So it's like you are moving from the first stage to the second stage. So the mid fidelity is more developed. Is more understandable than the low fidelity. So is this mid fidelity that you submit to your stakeholders to see before you proceed with the use of colors and use of typography. That is where the high fidelity comes in. So it is useful for visualizing the overall structure and layouts of a design. So what you sketch down in your paper, in your digital freehanding, you are now going to be translating it into a frame, like a frame you are going to be using. Okay, the iPhone frame, Android frames, and the likes. Okay, so you are going to be visualizing it on there. So the structure and everything, you are going to be taking notes of that. Okay, this kind of text will be too much for this space. I need to reduce this rectangle. I need to do this. I need to do that. So that's where that thinking comes in, and it is always in grayscale. Okay, like I said earlier, you are not going to be taking note of colors yet. It is always in grayscale, like a gray color, that of something related to, okay, like of this color. You know, this is not black, or it's not what, it does not have any other color. It is gray. Okay, so grayscales, colors like this. So that's how your mid fidelity will look like. So like a what, like a developed stage than your what, low fidelity, and it is always in what, in grayscale. So I'm going to be giving an example on this. Then we have the high fidelity. So the high fidelity is like the last stage. Okay, so it's a cleaner and made with digital tools. So high fidelity is very clean. Okay, so high fidelity on this stage is a state whereby it's a situation whereby you can, after coming up with this high fidelity, you can now test your design. So high fidelity is very similar to the final visual design. So it is cleaner and you make use of digital tools. So the designer must pay attention to actual UI elements as close to the final prototype as possible. So you must take note of every UI element. This is where you make use of your design components, your colors, your typography, and every other design elements, your accordions, your modals, and the likes. Okay, so you take note of everything. because this is very very close to the what, the final design, the final visual design. Okay, you are going to be testing this with the user. So information gotten from that, the insight gotten from this stage, now you now put that into the design pack, then you launch that. Okay, so it is very very important to what, take note of every UI element. It is used for testing overall user experience or flow of features. Yes, so that's why I said that you are going to be testing this design with your user. So you need to take note of every interaction, every design component and everything that's going to be possible for you to launch with. Okay, so you need to take note of everything like that. So that's what an high fidelity looks like. So it is very very close to your final design. So even some people might not even test their design, they just send it out, okay, like that. But that's not, it's not done. No matter what, you can never be perfect, so you have to test your design before you launch it. You have to test it. There will still be some information, some feedback you will get, no matter how. Okay, so you have to test it with your what, with users, or that's where you now send it out to your stakeholders. Okay, is this okay, is this that, your team, to review everything. Then you incorporate those insights into your design. So the tools we use for our wireframing start from our pen and paper. Okay, so we use our pen and paper for what stage? For the low fidelity stage. Then we have our whimsical, that's also used for our low fidelity or mid fidelity. We have our fig jam, that's used for our low fidelity. We can sketch on fig jam if you don't want to use pen and paper. Okay, you can sketch on fig jam. Then we also have figma, that's what we use for mostly for our mid fidelity and high fidelity. So we make it where we make use of frames. Okay, then we also have mirror. Mirror is used for our low fidelity and our mid fidelity. You can sketch on it, and you can also use different components too, but you cannot come up with your what, high fidelity on it. You use mid fidelity. You can come up with low or mid fidelity. The same goes to balsamic. So balsamic too, this is a digital tool for your mid fidelity. Okay, so that's the those are the tools we are going to be using. So today we'll be discussing more on practical. So you can see we have not used more than, I think, 30 minutes or so. So what we should be working on today is practical. So we'll be working on mid fidelity screens and the like. So where you can now get inspiration for your design, for your user interface, is Mobbing. Okay, so we'll be going to Mobbing app to get some design, to then we are going to be sketching that on our Figma, on our FigJam, because we are going to be working on a low fidelity first. But before we go, is there any question, please? Let me drop it on the comment section. I want to ensure that I'm still connected. Okay, no question for now. Hope I'm still connected. I want to ensure that I'm still connected.
Introducing Global, the app that delivers.
Okay, so let's check mobbing. Okay, so this is mobbing and we have some few screens here. We can uh, try to come up with that on our feed. So let me open this. Let me download this. Okay, now open my feed. Just a minute. So have we been able to send out our survey link? I've shared that on the group. Okay, we already have few responses. Okay, we'll be reviewing this. Okay, after our low fidelity is done. Okay, sorry, what's happening? Okay, we have few responses. Okay. So comment please. Okay, so let me put in this file so we can sketch something. Oh, I don't know. Let me add some more. So if you have something like this is just a very simple screen. Okay, so you get your pencil tool, That's what you get out first. So I want something like this. Okay, so then let me just have my screen. So, and I have the logo here, the logo and the logo name. This, can you see what I'm doing? So the logo, if you have a logo kind of image or logo or icon, can just represent it with something like boss, and you have your logo here. Have your logo here. Okay, so this is just what we have here on this screen. Okay, this is just an example of what we have on this screen. So we still have some screens. Let me download that. So coming, this is just an example of a low fidelity. Okay, let me put in this first. Okay, so let me give it to a border. Okay, this is an example of a what? For another screen. So let's just sketch. Let's sketch. I'm sorry, please, my hand is not straight. Then we have something here like an icon and a what in a text. So you can just have it something like this, like an icon and a text. So just have it like text something. If you can write it out, you can do that. So then we have C features. That's another text. So I said that you can represent text with a line. Okay, that's another thing. Then we have a big image. So you can represent that with a what? A rectangle. Then we have a text. We have a text under it. So you can just indicate it as heading or something like that. Instead of this. Instead of this, you can just have it as heading. So like an heading, and you have some subheading beneath it. Then you have button, so as login. Okay, and we have a long button, get started. So please don't mind my writing. I mostly use pen and paper. You can see how disturbing this is and how tough it is. So that's it. So that's about this screen. You've been able to sketch out something, right? Okay, so you've been able to do that, and let's still come up with some sketch. We still have another screen here. Okay, let's do this too. Okay, so this is another sketch, another image, so that we can sketch it. Hope you are seeing what I'm doing. Then we have another screen. Let's sketch. So this is how we just represent your elements on the screen. Then we have something like a break rectangle inside of it, something like this. So let's just leave it like this. Then we have an icon here. I said that if you want to represent an icon, use a box, okay, it's a cancel button inside it. Then we have something like heading. Okay, this is an heading, and we have image here. So then we have some text and image. So you can represent your text with a what, with a line if you can't write that. So a text like that, and we also have some icons here and text, right? We have more text. We have more text. Then we have our button. Okay, open free accounts. So like that. So these are low fidelity sketching. Okay, low fidelity wireframing, sorry. So if you are coming up with your wireframing, it might just look like this, but because I'm using a white boarding, so that's why it is kind of very rough and not even okay at all. So but this is an example of sketching, and this is how it will look like on your paper too. So you can see how I represented this element with box and lines. You can see this is the logo and the logo name, so you can see it there. This is an image, you can see the image here. Then we have the heading and subheading. We have buttons too. This is how it will look like. Okay, the same goes to the last screen. So this is how every other screens will look like. So before we stop, let's just create a mid fidelity. This is a low fidelity screen, right? So mid fidelity, we make use of our Figma, yes, Figma file. Sorry, what's wrong? I'm coming, please. You know what's wrong with network. Sorry, I have to call. I think my Figma is not loading. Let me open it again. So a design file. A new design file. Okay. So this is a new design file. So this is how a Figma Canva looks like. You have your layer, you have assets. So on this asset is where you have maybe your design components, any kind of components. Okay, then you have pages. If you want to add another page, you can add it. So you have your move tool and your scale tool. You have this where you get your frame, section or slides, and this is where you have your different shapes. And here you have your sketching, your pen tool, sorry. Then here you can come up with text, and this is where you get your resources. If it's that you have components on this screen or plugins or widgets, and if you want to use a hand tool to move around without mistakenly deleting or editing something. And this other one is if you want to add the comments. Okay, so we are working on the move tool. So we want to, let me copy these screens on the new Figma. I will send you the link. After we're done with the class. So I want to drop these images on the Figma file, so as to, let me just give it something like 64. Okay, so we have these 3 screens and we want to replicate them. Okay, so first of all is to come up with the kind of frame you want to use. So if you want to get your frame, just click on this and get your frame here. You can see it's a mobile, so you are going to be going to the phone. Okay, so you can choose anyone. So I'm choosing this screen, this frame, 13 iPhone 13. So first of all is to we still have so many things to talk about in UI principles, but let's just sketch like we are newbies, we don't know anything. So let's just sketch. So we've been able to sketch on our FigJam. Then here we want to work on our mid fidelity. So the first thing is to come up with a logo, right? So you can just have let's have our logo as a rectangle. You can just edit it a bit. So let me make it 72 by 72. Okay, let me just give it a small distance. So you can choose your color here. Like you said you have knowledge of using Figma already. So let's just have our text as logo. Okay, so let me increase it. Okay, so this is our logo and our logo symbol. Okay, so this is for the first screen, so there's not much thing to do on that. So then we have another screen for this one. Let me just put everything by the side. Okay, so this screen should be by the side. This one should be under it. So for this screen, let's work on something. For this screen, let me bring another frame. So on this screen, we want to have we want to replicate this screen here. So we have different elements here. We have image, we have text, and we have buttons. So for the first thing is our is the icon by the side. So let me just give it something like 32, very small one. Okay, let me just bring it to this side, and the text. Okay, let me reduce the size of this to 20, medium, something like that. So by the side, then we have another text. So that's see all features. So let me just do something like 18. Okay, so we have this by the side. Then we now have our image, right? Let me just do something like 16. Then we have our image. So this image is kind of very big. Okay, let me just give it 300. Okay, like an image. So like an image, you can leave it like that. Then we have the heading and subheading here. Open a mobile money account in minutes. Okay, let me break it. Let's be something like 32. Oh, I think 30 is too much. Let me use 4. Okay, and a what? Semi-bold. Let's keep it in the middle. Then we have a subheading. Let me just have this as medium and 18 or 16. Let's just keep it that way. Then we have get sending, get sending, comma, spending, and saving with your contactless card. So let's break this. Okay, and keep it in the middle. Then you can reduce the color of this one just to make a difference between the heading and the subheading, right? Okay, so let me increase this a bit. Okay, nice. Then we have our button. Okay, let's just have a rectangle, small rectangle. Let's give it 12. Okay, and let's put in our text. Let me give it something like 24. Okay, so this is my first button. Sorry. Let me keep it somewhere. This and this, let's bring it down a bit, and we can increase this one. So Then we have our another button. Let's just duplicate this by pressing Ctrl D so that then we can enlarge it. Sorry. Ctrl F means fine, so I mistakenly pressed Ctrl F. So let's just duplicate this. Okay, but this one is kind of very large. It's wider, so let's change the text to get started. Okay, so I think the text is too much. So, and this so let me just put this in the range. Okay, so let's just let's give this kind of black color. Okay, just to make a difference. So we have our second screen. Okay, this is the mid fidelity of the second screen. You can see we've been able to represent what we have here in this screen. Okay, so let's have our third screen. You can see everything is getting clear. Okay, so this is how our mid fidelity will look like. So let's have the last screen here by pressing our F to get our frame. So our frame, then let's work on this screen. So the first thing is to come up with a kind of another frame inside of it. Okay, so let's just do something. So another frame, by pressing your F you can sketch your frame out. Okay, and give it a border, a top border. So about it, something like 12. Okay, this is supposed to be 0 and this is supposed to be 0. Let's give it a feel of white, but the previous screen should not be white. Let's give it another color. Okay, something like this. Okay, let's give it something like black. Let's reduce this a bit. So we still have another kind of gray screen under this. So let's just use our rectangle for that. Okay, let's just use something like this. Okay, so let's just use something like let's keep it in the middle, and let's give it border. Then you can send it to back, just make it not to show. Okay, let's widen it a bit. Okay, so okay, let's just leave it like that. We are not really concerned about all of this. So What next is to bring in our icon. Okay, we can use rectangle for that. Just a small icon. Alright, so let's just keep this like this. Okay, then we have like an heading here. So here is everything you need. So let's increase this to something like 24. Okay, and let's keep it in the middle. Then we have another image. Let's just represent this with, we can use a circle for that. Okay, we can use a circle for that. Okay, I think we are good to go. Then we proceed with what next is our a text like this, and we also have an icon by the side. So let's just duplicate this, have it somewhere here, and our text here, your account. So let's reduce this a bit, something like 20. Okay, okay, so we still have some icons by the side. Let me reduce this, let me increase this, something like 40. So, and we have text here. We have mobile money accounts, mobile money accounts. Let's reduce this a bit. Okay, let me give it 18. Then we have a subheading for that. Medium will be okay. Then we have a subheading. Let's just duplicate this. Now manage your money with ease. Okay, so let's just give it something like 14. Okay, can reduce the color just to make a change, just to make a difference. Okay, I think this is too much. So we have this, right? So we can then duplicate all of this. We still have 4 more or 3 more. Okay, so like that. Then we have another button. Okay, we have another button. Open free accounts. Let me increase this. Stain and semi-wood. So, but before that, we have a rectangle. The button is in what? The button is a button, okay? It's like 64 and the what? 12. So we have a text beneath it, under it. So we can bring it to front, and you what? You put this inside the middle of this one. Okay, then can now bring it up a bit. So let me just increase the color. a bit just to make a difference. That this is a what? Is a button. So we've been able to come up with what our main fidelity. This is just how it is. Okay, you can see it's very similar. It is more advanced. Sorry, it is more advanced than our low fidelity. You can see how this is rough and not even native at all. So this is kind of more a developed version of what we did earlier. Okay, so these screens are like onboarding screens where users get to know what they are going to be seeing on the screen. So what they are expecting on the screen, this is what they will look like. Okay, so it's as simple as this. You can it helps you to get more ideas quickly. So here we are replicating screens. Okay, we are just replicating what we are seeing. We are not the one coming up with the idea. They have already designed it. What we are doing now is just to what replicate what's on the screen. But we will be working on what real life projects that we are going to be coming up with the idea ourselves. Okay, but just to make it clear that this is what a low fidelity or mid fidelity will look like. Okay, that's what we are doing. So we'll be able to practice also with our high fidelity. Okay, so your high fidelity, if you are working your high fidelity, sometimes you can just duplicate and make use of your color and icons. If your mid fidelity is very okay, you can just duplicate and do that. Okay, let's do something here. So on your mid fidelity, you have on your high fidelity, sorry, you have the normal color. Okay, and you make use of grids, you make use of what's it called, other design principles. So and we have not touched that. Your grids, your visual hierarchy, your alignment and everything. You can see this screen is lacking all of those principles. It's because we have not get to discuss that yet, so we won't be able to do the high fidelity. But if you are working on high fidelity, you change the color, you do everything, you make use of the real image, real color, real text, real icon and likes. So that's how it will be. Is there any question on this mid fidelity and high fidelity stuff, low fidelity and high fidelity stuff, before we proceed? I'm waiting for question. Okay, keep saying no question, say no question. Okay, so so let's check our previous. I'll be sending this link. So this is the workshop, this is our workshop, to be our workshop screen. Okay, so let's just name this page as our workshop. So this is just workshop, so we can add another screen here. So let me just okay, so I'll be sharing this link. Okay, you have a question, please. Okay, let's welcome the question. Okay, still waiting for the question. Okay, do you need to consider the font size when running low fidelity? Okay, I said the low fidelity is your sketching. Okay, so if you are sketching on paper, for instance, or like we sketched on this screen, on this fig jam, we are not even considering the text yet. Okay, but when we get to the mid fidelity, there is a need for that. So you can you'll be able to come up with a what, you should consider the text, because like I said, if you go back to the slide, I said that in your mid fidelity you consider the how well everything is structured. Okay, it is useful for visualizing the overall structure and layout of a design. So it is a must you consider the text in order to make everything balanced. Okay, it's a must you consider the sketch and everything, I mean the font sizes. Okay, so before we proceed with our normal project, we would have covered the design principles and style guide. So before proceeding with your mid fidelity, you should already have your style guides that include your color styles, your typography styles. Okay, that's your font. So but if you are working on low fidelity, there's no need for that. Just sketch everything out. Okay, hope you got it. Hope it's understood, please, before we proceed. Yes, there are guidelines. So that's what we call our star guides. Okay, so there are guidelines. So for your heading, you can see this font size is very big, and the style is also big. You can see the style is semi bold. Unlike this one, we use a medium and a small size. So there is guidelines. Okay, so under that style guides, you'll be having a section for headings, h1 bold, h2, h3 and the like. So those are headings, and you also have body text, like this one. This is a body text, and sometimes you also have button text. So they all have different styles. Okay, they all have different styles. You don't need to worry much about that, but there is a guideline that govern everything. Okay, so is there any other question? Okay, understood. So let's go back to our uh, uh, research. Let's see what people say before we proceed. Though these responses are not enough yet, we only have 4 responses. So we have their names: John Lewis, Scarlett, Benettor, then Philip. So where do people live is urban. Most of it is urban, 75 of it. So but these responses are not yet enough to synthesize with. Okay, we can't consider that most people live in urban area. If you have about 20 responses now, there might be a change. Okay, so we cannot synthesize or analyze this data yet, but this is how the responses will look like. Okay, you have your charts. It's like a pie chart. So you also have something like a bar chart. Okay, so tell you to let you understand. So bar charts are mostly used for checkbox questions. So if you go and check these questions, what are the primary reasons for food waste in your household, we ask people to checklist any other responses. Okay, every responses, if they apply to what they are experiencing. So this is how we check box responses. And do you currently use any tool? So most of them, all of them is new. That means people are not even people don't even know what these tools are. They have not even used it. So based on these 4 responses, they don't have any tool they use. Okay, so would you be interested? Most of them are they're all interested in it, and they all choose automated expiration date tracking. So, and what's the next question? Are you willing to manually input? So 75 of them choose yes. So well, it's nice. So we cannot synthesize on it yet, but this is how they all look like. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this mid fidelity stuff and your low fidelity. That's just how it is. Okay, but before you come up with anything, you already have your information architecture. Okay, in any project, before you can start with the with all of this, before you can start with low fidelity, you already have your information architecture and your user flow, and those are gotten from your research. So with that, you can come up with sketching. Okay, you already have the journey, the customer journey, and you already have your user flow, the flow of every task. So it will be very very easier for you. Open up, get started, and the like. So the example of the user flow I gave yesterday was that the person opened the app. So if the person opened this app, for instance, this is what the person will see first and foremost. Okay, then like a delay after delay, then go to this screen. So these are onboarding screens. Then the person can log in if the person already have the account, or get started to create an account. So like that. Okay, so you would have sketched that out in your user flow already, making it easier for you to come up with the low fidelity. Okay, so it's as simple as that. But before you proceed with your user flow, you must have gotten your information architecture to organize every features you want to have on that screen. So that's just how it is. But don't worry, we keep going. Just stick together. Let's stick together and work on something. Okay, but nothing here is strange or new. Everything is step by step. So since we've been able to cover some aspects, it's becoming more clearer, more understandable for you. Okay, so lastly, do you have any question or any observation or anything you feel like to say just to contribute? Okay, I'm waiting for that before we call it a day. So till next week, right? So till next week. Next week we'll be discussing the UI principles. Okay. So before we even stop the class, before we end the class, the surveys. Okay. What you just need to do on that survey is to ask these questions. Yes, you can conduct it with just 2 people or 3 people. Anyhow, you can just conduct with them, just ask this kind of questions, and you are not going to be giving them options, so they will be able to express themselves so very very well. Okay, okay, so if you have any question on that user interview, just let me know. Okay, we can do that during the week. Okay, thank you very much. Till next week. Okay, but make sure you come up, make sure you conduct that user interview please before next week. It's very important, and I will be needing your responses on that. Thank you. Have a nice day.